What material science limits anti-gravity device concepts? Imagine a world where objects float effortlessly, defying gravity with just a flick of a switch. That's the dream behind anti-gravity devices, but the reality is much more complicated. The main challenge comes from the materials needed to make these devices work. Right now, the materials that could possibly produce anti-gravity effects are still out of reach. Many of these materials involve strange quantum states or exotic phases of matter that we cannot create or control with current technology. For example, some ideas relying on high-temperature superconductors, which can conduct electricity without resistance at relatively high temperatures. But even with these, there's no solid proof they can generate anti-gravity forces. Experiments have been inconsistent, and reproducibility remains a big issue. Superconductors have unique electromagnetic properties, but they do not seem capable of directly influencing gravity. To manipulate gravity, you would need materials that can produce negative energy densities or negative mass, which are concepts from advanced physics theories. These materials would need to handle enormous energy levels, far beyond what our current manufacturing processes can produce or contain. Metamaterials, which are engineered to bend electromagnetic waves in unusual ways, have been suggested as a way to indirectly influence gravitational fields. However, they only affect light and electromagnetic signals, not gravity itself. Gravity is tied to the fabric of spacetime, which makes it fundamentally different from electromagnetic forces. To create a true anti-gravity effect, materials would have to alter spacetime curvature, which is a task that requires manipulating energy in ways we cannot yet achieve. The energy demands are staggering. Theoretical models suggest that, to generate anti-gravity effects, materials would need to withstand energy densities that are impossible with current technology. For example, creating a gravitational shield or zone of repulsive gravity would requiring exotic matter with negative energy, something that remains purely theoretical. Gravity is a force that couples with all forms of energy, making it very difficult to shield or block with normal materials. Even experiments in microgravity environments, like on the International Space Station, show how gravity influences material behavior at a fundamental level. This highlights how tricky it is to develop materials that could counteract gravity itself. In short, the biggest material science hurdles are the absence of known exotic materials or quantum states that could produce anti-gravity effects, the enormous energy needed to sustain such effects, and the fundamental nature of gravity as a curvature of spacetime. Despite decades of research, no material has been found that can generate or shield against gravity in a controlled way. So, while the idea of anti-gravity remains a fascinating scientific curiosity, creating practical devices is still a long way off.